Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be doing, you guessed it, a trying new makeup video. This is one of my favorite videos to do. I just sit down and gather a bunch of products and test them out for you guys. Some of these I've used a couple times, some of them I've not touched at all. So you will see how they blend, how they apply, and we'll talk about my first impression. And then of course I always do follow up. So I do like a new makeup roundup where I really do full reviews so you can see what I feel about products that I've been using for a longer period of time. But today I'm going to be using the Supreme Bronze Palette from Couture. I just hauled this in a Sephora haul. I've used this twice, but really haven't used more than 3 or 4 shades, so I want to play around with this. I have a couple bronzing products to try today. The first one is the e.l.f. Putty Bronzer. This was released, I believe, like a week or so ago, and I bought it immediately. So I only picked up one shade, but I thought we would try out the formula. I'm a huge fan of the Putty blushes, so we'll see how it compares. I also picked up the Vive Bronzer Duos. I love Vive. This is Jamie Genevieve's line, and honestly, I've found a lot of standout products in her line, so I always buy everything she releases. I also want to play around with this Vive Skin Dew Glow Multitasker. I think I applied this in one video very quickly, but I'm still playing around with ways to use this, so I thought we would play with this maybe as a base, maybe even as a highlighter on the tops of the cheekbones. So I'm just still testing this. I thought we would do it together on camera, as well as the Tarte C Hydro Flex Serum Foundation. I did demo a mini size sample size that I got in a previous video. I'm still testing it out, but I did pick up a larger size in a shade that would match my fresh tan. I also have a handful of products from Pat McGrath that I bought right when they launched, and I never got a chance to demo them. I feel like we got a flood of cream bronzers, cream highlighters, cream blushes, and these got pushed to the back. I have the Skin Fetish Divine Glow Highlighter. Again, I've used it I think once or twice, but I really want to try it with the full face of makeup. And then I also have 3 of her blushes. I actually have 4 now because I just hauled that Electric Bloom, I think is what it's called, the really hot sort of red orange, but these are more neutral pinky shades. For lips, I really want to do something bright, but we'll see. If not, I will use my Melt Cosmetics nude lipsticks, just depending on how our eye look turns out. And then I also have the brand new Hailey's Beauty Rewind Concealer. I've had this for about 5 or 6 weeks now, and I am going to be partnering with them on that portion of the video to tell you about this concealer, apply it, tell you my thoughts, but spoiler alert, I love it. If you like full coverage and smoothing, just stay tuned for that. So that's all the stuff we're going to be using today. I might throw in a couple more depending what I find in my stash if I want to tweak some things, but I hope you guys enjoy this video. I will link all the products down below that I use today. Please subscribe if you're new, and let's go ahead and begin. So I zoomed you in and we're going to start on the eyes. I actually redid my eye base, so if my eyes are looking a little bit red, it's because I was removing it and then reapplying it. I've just been struggling with really dry eyelids, so that's fun. So we're going to go in with the Couture Supreme Nudes palette. No, Supreme Bronze palette. I picked this up from Sephora. These are really deep, rich shades, so it's going to be hard for me to do like a light look just because all of the shades are so rich in color. Even the transition shades are quite deep. They have a lot of depth to them. So if you are tan, medium, deep skin tone and you want something that's really going to give you depth, I think you'd really enjoy this. I think I'm actually going to start off with this shade down here, which I haven't tried yet. This is called Sun-Kissed, and I'm going to put this in the crease. So I'm going to start actually on this outer corner here and sort of pat this on. You know what? Maybe I'll do a halo eye. I like to do a halo sort of eye with palettes like this that are a little bit deeper, just because I'm not really wanting to do a intense smoky eye. So once you have the pigment down, I'm going to take a clean brush and start blending the edges here. It's very pigmented. These shades have a lot of depth to them. So even though some of them look a little bit lighter in the pan, they're pretty intense. Just blending out any of these edges. So to intensify this, I'm going to go into the shade Baked, which is a really deep chocolate brown. I'm going to keep this lower. Then I'm just going to take that first brush to really blend these together. So I'm going over it with that first shade. I feel like I have some weird grabbing here with that what is it called? Baked shade. I don't know if you can see that. It's like just stuck in my crease and it's not wanting to blend out. Do you guys see that? I don't know what is happening with that. For the center of the lid, I'm gonna go into sand. I hope I can sort of cover that. Strange, like that grabbing, it just will not move. And I'm gonna put this right in the center. Okay, I just wet it because I feel like it needed, yeah, that definitely changes it a lot. So I'm just applying it in the center. It doesn't have to be perfect because we're going to blend the edges, but I would say definitely wet that. So I'm just taking that first brush to blend the edges. And then I'm taking a brush with that light shade and sand wet, and I'm just intensifying it. So next I want to do a really thin winged liner. I'm going to use my KVD Tattoo Liner in Trooper. Okay, so I went ahead and applied my liner and lashes. I'm gonna start on the face now. I wanna go in with my Freck moisturizer. This is just a staple for me, and I like to use this before makeup. It really just gives me a nice hydration, and it sits nicely under my makeup. I like to really focus it on my forehead where I'm really dry. I also want to try out this little sample size product I got in one of my Sephora orders. This is Ole Henriksen Cold Plunge Pore Remedy Moisturizer. It says this is for combo and oily skin types to hydrate but also help with pores. So I thought that I would test this out in my T-zone. It has like a minty scent to it. It has like a gel-like texture. And because we're going in with that Tarte foundation that's more hydrating, I want to see if this will help with oil control. And then I'm also going to take a little bit of my Tarte Timeless Smoothing Primer. I always do this right in the areas that I have large pores, which really for me the most is right in here. And I almost forgot to use this Vive product again. This is the Vive Skin Dew Glow Multitasker. This is essentially a liquid highlight. It can be a primer as well. I'm gonna go ahead and swatch it for you. There's one shade, it's supposed to work for everyone. So I thought maybe I would apply this to my forehead and the high points of my face. You can also use this on top of your cheekbones when you're done with your makeup, which we might try as well. I have that Pat McGrath highlight though. So I'm gonna keep it up where I would typically apply an illuminating primer or like a highlighter, just because these can tend to accentuate your texture. So for foundation today, I'm gonna be going in with the Tarte C Hydroflex Serum Foundation. I did get a sample of this and then I went ahead and picked up the full size. This is the shade 32 Medium Sand. I'm hoping it's not too dark for me. It was kind of hard to tell. If it is, I can mix in the sample that I got. So the texture on this foundation is very liquidy. It has a medium coverage. It's very lightweight. So I'm gonna start applying. I'm still trying to get my feelings on this because I really like it for just an everyday, natural, glowy foundation. I noticed that it wore pretty well, which typically these do not wear that well on me personally. I think one thing I like is the very thin texture on this, just because it is not thick or goopy. It doesn't feel heavy or sticky on the skin, which is something I don't enjoy. So this is what one layer is looking like. I feel like you can get a light medium coverage. You can definitely build it, and this shade is a little bit lighter than I had anticipated. I'm gonna mix in a little bit of my NARS matte foundation in Stromboli just to do a little bit more coverage because the shade's a little bit light, but also I just want a little more coverage really in my T-zone area. I mix this NARS foundation with like everything. It's just so nice to bump up coverage to any foundation or skin tint. So this is what the skin is looking like. I definitely prefer it mixed in with the NARS, really more for the shade. I feel like this shade I thought was gonna be a little bit deeper, but it definitely still is a little bit light for my fresh tan. This will definitely work for me though when my tan wears off. So far I really like this for an everyday, just easy natural finish that's gonna last relatively well, 7 to 8 hours, and then I can blot or powder. So it's not gonna last like a double wear, but it's one of those hydrating ones that is sort of like the NARS tinted moisturizer I like, or the Fenty Ease Drop. It's sort of on that playing field where it gives me a light medium buildable coverage and it lasts well enough for me to use it every day. So now I want to go in with the e.l.f. Putty Bronzer. This is brand new. I only bought one shade and I really didn't know which shade I should get. This is in the shade Honey Drip. I haven't even touched this yet. Looks a little deep possibly. It definitely feels a little bit sheer, like it's going to be buildable, which might be a good thing. So we will just try it out. I'm going to use an IT Cosmetics brush and I'm going to swirl into the product and then tap on the back of my hand first. So I'm going to start up here. It looks to be sheer, which I have to say the putty blushes are also, I would say, sheer buildable. They're not hard to work with at all. You just build them up. So I'm assuming this will be similar. The shade's a little bit neutral or cool. There's always like that struggle about getting my hairline. When you're blonde, it's like you either get makeup in your hair or you don't get to your hairline. It's just a fun process. So that blended really nicely. I didn't have any issues at all. So now I'm gonna start up here. So far, so good on this e.l.f. Putty Bronzer. I'm not noticing any struggle with the blending. I feel like it's nice and buildable, but it's still showing up. It looks deeper in the jar, so maybe get a shade that you think might be a little bit too deep for you because it's not insanely pigmented. It is very buildable. So this is what the e.l.f. Putty Bronzer looks like applied. It was really easy to use. I had zero lifting and I like that it's buildable. It's one of those that I feel like anybody could use. It's not sticking down or patching. I feel like it blended honestly really easy, probably up there with the Say bronzer in terms of how easy it was to apply. It definitely has a little tack to it, but it's nothing overwhelming. So far so good on this. I'm excited to keep trying it and see how it works under powder. So next I'm going to move on to concealing my under eyes, and I am partnering with Hailey's Beauty for this portion of the video. I always love working with them because I truly have found so many staple products from them. They do complexion so well. If you haven't heard of Hailey's Beauty, they are founded by a female chemist. They are 100% vegan and cruelty-free. They use skin-loving ingredients in their products, and I have found so many staples from them. If you've watched some of my previous videos, you know my love for their powder and their matte foundation. Also, their sponges and brushes are great. But today I want to demo their brand new product, which is called the Rewind Blurring Full Coverage Concealer. So this is their newest launch, and let me tell you, it is phenomenal. I did get this about 5 or 6 weeks ago, so I've been using it. It is not a first impression for me. I can really tell you my thoughts on this product. This has diamond powder in it to really give you that bright under eye. It is a cream to powder formula. It is matte, long wearing, and it really smooths. It gives you that blurring under eye, and I think it is that cream to powder formula. It is full coverage. A little goes a long way. It also has a metal tip on the end, so it's very cooling if you have puffy under eyes. You do not need a lot. I am going to be using this shade today, Fair Light Neutral. I can also use light neutral and fair neutral depending on my tan. So I'm going to take a tiny bit under my eyes, and when I tell you a little goes a long way, a little goes a long way. You do not want to overdo it because the coverage on this is really great. And I'm just blending this out with the Hailey's Beauty Remix Complexion Sponge. This is what I used for my foundation as well. This sponge is one of my favorites. It's really soft and bouncy. You can get a large area done quickly. Super affordable as well, and it is latex free. So here is the concealer blended out. You can see it really gave me that coverage and brightened my under eye. It also feels quite hydrating even though it has that cream to powder finish. Looks nice and blurred. So now I'm going to set it with my favorite powder. This is the Hailey's Beauty Retouch Soft Focus Setting Powder. I have raved about this so many times. If you saw my top 3 in each category, I talked about this and one of the matte foundations from Hailey's Beauty. This is one of the most smoothing powders I have ever tried. So I'm going to set my T-zone with the Remix Complexion Sponge. I like to really press the powder in around my T-zone, and then I'm going to use a fluffy brush from Hailey's Beauty to set that cream bronzer in the perimeter of my face. So I just like to press it in right under my eyes and then also pull it down my T-zone. This powder is so incredibly blurring, which is why I love it. It's super lightweight and it also just helps with locking in your makeup so it lasts all day. For the perimeter of my face, I'm going to take their Brilliant Powder Brush and just swirl into this powder. And I'm going to use more of a stamping motion, especially over that cream bronzer. Kind of press over that so we don't disrupt that cream product. This brush is made from sustainable wood and it has 100% vegan bristles. They also have a foundation brush, which I really, really love. It's really nice, sort of rounded kabuki brush. Okay, complexion is set using the Hailey's Beauty powder. It's one of my favorite powders for that airbrushed look but lightweight feel. I will link all of the products I used today from Hailey's Beauty down below in my description box. I also have a $5 off coupon code when you spend $25 or more on their website. The code is Steph, so I will leave it down below as well. Thank you to Hailey's Beauty for sponsoring this portion of the video. I believe in this brand so much. I have found so many gems and staple products, so I highly recommend them. So now that we've set our face, I want to move into the powder bronzer. So this is the Vive Modern Bronzing Duo. Modern Bronzer Bronzing Duo. I got the shade medium and I have not even swatched this. So it looks like you get a cooler tone and then a warmer tone, but they're both matte. I'm interested to give this a try. I'm gonna go in with my Sonia G Master Face Brush and I'm gonna start with the warmer side, just because I really have been loving warm bronzers. And I'm just making sure to be really light with my pressure because we are going over a cream bronzer. Okay, so it's definitely giving me bronze and some sculpting. I will say that it's pretty buildable, which is nice. It's not over the top because I was kind of thinking maybe medium was a little bit dark for me, but it doesn't appear to be. I'm gonna take this tiny Benefit brush into the cool tone side, see if I can get a little bit of like a contour. And then just going back in with that Sonia G brush to really buff this out. All right, so this is the Vive bronzer in medium. I feel like it's the right color for me. I didn't know if it was gonna be a little bit too dark, but it's not. This is a buildable formula, very thin. It doesn't enhance your texture, and I like that you get a warm and a cool tone in there. I finished my brows off camera, and I wanna go in next with a highlighter. So this is the Pat McGrath Skin Fetish Divine Glow Highlighter in Golden Nectar. So this definitely has a peachy tone to it. I've used it a couple times, and I liked it, but I wasn't wowed. But I thought we would try it together here because I never did it on camera. I think what's throwing me off is the peachy shade. So it's definitely intense. I mean, you don't have to do much, but I do think it enhances texture just a little bit more than some other highlighters. Could be because it is a powder formula. I also just think that I am more into the like neutral gold and champagne highlighters. It's definitely beaming and it can give you that really intense glow, but I just tend to prefer the more neutral champagne gold highlighters. For blush, I do want to use one of the Pat McGrath blushes as well. I picked up 3 shades from her website and then I did get that hot orange one recently. So this one is Cherish. I don't think I'm going to use this one today because it's like a cool tone pink. I also have the shade Nymphette. I'll probably use this one today. I believe this one has a little bit of like that gold color to it, which again might go well with what I have on my cheeks and my eyes. And then the last one I got is called Divine Rose. Yeah, this one's a little bit too cool toned. It's like a muted mauvey cool tone. So I'm gonna go in to the shade Nymphette. So these are very pigmented and pretty powdery, to be honest, so you don't need a ton. Ooh, I like this color though. I don't know if I've used this. I think I've used Cherish, but I don't know that I've used this shade yet. It's really pretty. And it goes with the highlight, to be honest, really well. I actually really like that blush. I feel like it has a nice pinky peach glow to it. It's really beautiful. So to finish off the eyes, I really am going to keep it pretty simple on the lower lash line. I just prefer more of a just simple lower lash line as I get older. I'm gonna go into Sunkissed, which was that first shade. And I just wanna put a little bit of this on my lower lash line. A lot of the times I don't even put anything on my lower lash line. I just like the way it looks usually bare. And then I'm gonna take a little bit of that sand color that I put in the center of my lid. Just right here. I also added a little bit of this Marc Jacobs Pink of Me liner and then a little bit of mascara on the lower lash line. And now I want to finish off with lips. I was going to do something really intense, but I don't think it would go with what we have on our eyes. So I think we're going to have to go nude again. I went ahead and lined my lips with Nude 1.5 from KKW. I'm going to take a little bit of this Sincerely Yours lip cushion from Jaclyn Cosmetics. I just want to play around a little bit and see if I can use this as a lip stain base. And then I am going to take the Melt Cosmetics Zaddy. This is the lipstick that I bought. It's one of their new nudes lipsticks. I actually like this formula. I didn't like the originals, but this formula is so much more comfortable. I'm gonna take a little bit of this Carly Bible Il Maquillage lip liner in Luna. I just want to add a little bit of depth. Alright guys, here's my finished makeup look. I did add a little bit of gloss from Alamar Cosmetics in the shade Chula, but I want to go over my thoughts on the products. So let's start out with the Artist Couture palette. I think that this is super pigmented and I think that this is a great deep color story. I feel like we're missing this a lot in the market where there's so many light beige shades. With that said, I have a hard time getting a transition shade with this just because the two mattes that I would typically use are a little bit deep for me personally. I also had a little bit of grabbing with this shade, which was a little bit weird. This shade was gorgeous, which is called Sunkissed. I had no issues with Sunkissed, and so far I've used Toasty, then I also used Taupeless, and I've used this one too as well. I will have to say that I think these do better with a wet brush. So if you really want that intense high shine, you're gonna have to wet some of these metallics. Overall, I like it. I don't know if it's going to be the easiest to work with, especially if you have a really fair skin tone. But for those of you that are tan, deep, dark complected and really want something that's going to give you that depth and smokiness, this might be a good option for you. I'll have to keep trying the Ole Henriksen Cold Plunge Primer. I want to see how this wears throughout the day because I am wearing a more hydrating foundation. Now I did mix in the NARS, so I'll have to see if I notice a difference in terms of my oils staying controlled. So I'll update on this, and I do like the Vive Skin Dew. It reminds me of the Rare Beauty, but just more hydrating. So I like the Rare Beauty Illuminator, but this gave me a similar effect with a little bit more hydration, whereas the Rare Beauty sort of dries down a little bit so it doesn't add any extra hydration. Still playing with the Tarte foundation, I do think this is a nice option for every day. When you want a light medium coverage, you want that more natural finish, not that matte dry down. So I'll have to keep playing around with it. I'm surprised this shade was a little bit lighter than I thought. Of course, you can build up the coverage to a medium, but for me, I would just grab my NARS and mix it in and get the best of both worlds. But so far, I'm really enjoying this. Absolutely loving the Hailey's Beauty Concealer. I just think it's so nice and smoothing and it has such high coverage. A little goes a long way. I love the cream to powder powder formula on this, and I just think you guys would really enjoy it if you want that smooth under eye, but you don't want that dry feeling. And of course, I love the retouch powder. I've raved about this a million times. Also, I do really like the e.l.f. Putty Bronzer. Very buildable, easy to use, didn't get weird when I set it. These are not as pigmented as most of the cream bronzers or contours on the market, so you're gonna have to build them up, but honestly, ease of use was an A+ on this. So far, I have no complaints about the Vive bronzer. I think it blended beautifully. I like that there's a warm tone and a cool tone. Very thin formula, didn't enhance my texture. Really buildable as well. Nothing too crazy where I felt like it was overly pigmented, so I'll keep playing with this. Quite surprised at how much I like this Pat McGrath Nymphette blush. I think this is an exclusive to her website. I tried the Cherish shade before and just wasn't wowed. It was a little bit just, I don't know, not the right tone for me, but this one is really gorgeous, and it does have that peachy shift to it, but not overly. It's sort of like a NARS Orgasm, but muted down. The highlighter, I don't think it's gonna become a favorite. I feel like because it has that peachy gold undertone, it really is gonna have to go with specific looks. Like you're gonna have to match it with your blush and your lips, and maybe that's why I just prefer a typical gold highlighter, just because I can use it with anything, whereas this, it would clash with certain eyeshadows or lipsticks, so just be mindful of that. Also really enjoying the Melt Cosmetics lipsticks. I think I'm gonna buy a couple more shades just to change up the colors that I have, but I like the formula. It's not dry, cracky, it's not gunking up, it's very thin, it has pigment to it. It's going to hang on because it's a matte formula, but it's not like an unbearable matte like the old ones that they used to have. I hated the formula on those before, so I'm glad that they reformulated it. All right, so that is everything for this trying new makeup. I will link all the products I talked about today down below, but let me know your thoughts. Which products stood out to you, or which products do you want to try next? Don't forget to check out Hailey's Beauty. I think you guys would really enjoy their products. They will be at the top of my description box. Thank you guys again so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video.